Here's a little video of Cedar on the summit. He was pretty sure that he was like the man in China after. He was like the first person to stand on this tower, you know?
Incredible.
And he was like, I am a big deal in China. He was like really stoked on being a big deal in China. And as it turns out, he was actually kind of big in China. He really was.
Proportionately large.
Proportionally large.
It was, I mean, yeah, it was just, I mean, look at that. We got to be the first people to stand on that, you know, quite possibly the only people ever to stand on that because of the restrictions in National Park. I mean,
yeah.
To me, that's like everything you could hope for as a climber is to be the first person to stand on something that incredible and that iconic. And just to like kind of talk about some of the climbing up there a little bit, it was really, really dangerous and loose. There wasn't a lot of protection. For people who are familiar with climbing, you know, we were climbing traditionally, placing cams in the rock, and this is, you know, limestone is really terrible for that style of climbing because it just doesn't offer a lot of points for protection. So it was pretty serious, and at one point I was like about to like fall on a ledge, and I pulled off this giant block, and I was like kind of did one of those where you're like, ah, and then you're like, no, and then you're like, and then you have this huge block, and you're like, it's heavy,
and like, you don't want to drop it.
And then you're like, and then I just did one of these, I was like, and then I was like, it went, and I was like, Maddie, are you alive? And, you know, we summited. We were super stoked. We were relieved because obviously that's like one of the most incredible places that you're ever going to see on the planet. The karst geography of China is really something special. And then it was time to move on because we had 4 areas that we wanted to visit. And we arrived here, and Carsten, he's, oh, it's amazing. And he's oh, we got to get in the air. I'm like, you're going to put that drone back up in the air? I'm like, no, dude. He's all, no, the perspectives and all this stuff. And I don't know, what did you think when you arrived there? I mean,
for rock climbers, it must be like a paradise. Also for me, visually, I mean, this is like knife blades out of the ground and really edges, absolutely amazing. So incredible, an incredible area. But we.
But I have to admit, this really is an unreal place. They call this the Stone Forest, and you can totally see why. And just to think 200, 300 million years ago was an ancient, shallow seabed, and that through erosion, corrosion, just the magic of time, it became this surreal landscape. And you know, and this was like coral. These were like coral beds. And to think that you're basically climbing on the skeletons of like 200 million year old, you know, life forms is totally cool and surreal.
One of the coolest things about being in the Stone Forest was we started interacting with locals a little bit more, and wildlife. As you can see, that was a little scary sometimes. In the Stone Forest, you know, all the locals would come up, like this guy, he was really excited. And
he had some good stuff.
Had some good stuff, clearly. And was just like, you know, really fascinated with what we were doing, you know, and they were just going along, doing their thing, harvesting corn, and yeah, it was just really cool to see. One of the other crazy things about the Stone Forest was it was kind of the first time that we got to do like kind of bouldering climbing. So the Stone Forest, these formations really offered cool, technical, difficult moves.
Oh yeah, Maddie, this is the hardest climb of the trip. He like did a tunnel through this this hole here, and he actually stripped most of the flesh off his stomach.
I was trying to impress Carsten with my caving.
It's crawling.
Yeah.
And he's all, oh, I love the color.
Yeah. But the next area that we traveled to was Yangshuo, Moon Hill. One of the first places that sport climbing was established in China. And Moon Hill is a kind of an interesting thing because there's all these steps built to the base of Moon Hill, and they were built for Nixon because he was the first American president, I believe, to visit China. So they kind of wanted to build him something to show, you know, the natural wonders of China. Well, another really crazy thing about Moon Hill was the first time we ever saw locals climbing there.
And there are some incredibly talented Chinese climbers who are coming up in that scene.
It's definitely the epicenter of sport climbing in China.
These natural arches are just so wild because they're basically collapsed caves. Is that correct, Carsten?
Actually, yes. Yeah. It's a huge cave which just eroded away. You have maybe a tunnel, and the tunnel got smaller and smaller, and eventually a bridge is just remained.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting scene at the base.
Got to get your Obama
Obama
shirts. Yeah, that's so quality.
And this was Emily's last day. She decided to get her feet cleaned. She had to leave the trip a little bit early. And then Cedar, Carsten, myself, and Keith journeyed on to Getu.
This is the Great Arch in Getu, and it's truly one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. This is one of the most incredible cave systems in the world, as well as one of the most incredible natural arches in the world. You can see that bottom arch down there. It actually goes in.
This is where Meow Chamber is situated. So it's by volume now the biggest chamber in the world. So it's a really special place.
As you can see this lower tunnel, there's actually a river that runs through this, and then it drops down deep into one of these huge chambers and just goes who knows where. And it's really one of the most radical things I've ever seen. And so we started to just wander around and check it out. One of the really unique things about this arch system is that every morning the sun just shines perfectly through it to cast this incredible beam of light. And it's really otherworldly, it's super unique, it's super beautiful. And the other thing about this is the scale. This thing is massive.
Huge.
The height of that light beam is probably at least 400 or 500 feet tall at its smallest point there as it shoots through that archway. So to climb all the way from the bottom of the arch to the top is probably like 700-800 feet. It's massive. It's a huge monolithic arch, probably one of the top largest arches in the world. We started to just kind of cruise around and check it out. And I noticed that there was a lot of construction going on. The Chinese are really there like, oh, we've got this great national treasure. How can we make it more accessible? And how can we get more tourism coming in here and stuff, which is, I understand, is a wonderful thing. But when you see something like this, I find it a little discouraging. I'm like, really? Do you really need a glass elevator to take you from the bottom shaft to the top? And there's been a big backlash here where a lot of climbers have created this petition basically trying to stop this because they're actually going to put a hotel up basically inside of the upper arch. But at the same time, we were there to climb, and up there in that main arch, it was just incredible. We were looking around at all these possibilities for climbing. And we saw this one line that really stood out that went from bottom to top, right out the belly of the arch, all the way up to the very top of the cliff, and followed this really radical line of stalactites and tufas. You can see that's actually like a melted tufa wax formation I'm grabbing there, so what a unique feature.
We kind of have like a lot of these photos that just portray just how overhanging and bizarre the climbing is.
The climbing was super three-dimensional.
Yeah, the most three-dimensional climbing I've ever done. Like you could see here, and I don't even know how to describe it. Like Carsten is almost parallel with me looking in, like his ropes go up here, and he's like looking straight at me through these caves. Like it's almost like you're like swimming, you're like going from one stalactite to the next. Like you're not necessarily climbing like you would normally climb with your feet below you. Like your feet are below you, except you're like turning around and just bear hugging a stalactite. And like when I say
or doing
bear
like
hugging,
bridges. At one point, I was just I just kind of like did like one of these. I went,
yeah.
And, like, all right, I got it.
And like when I say bear hugging, I mean like fully wrapping your legs like around and hugging these tufas for dear life, because your forearms are starting to get tired, but you could literally wrap your legs all the way around it and lock your legs and rest your upper body.
All right, so we are headed up to the high point of this amazing route, and as you can see, it is insanely steep. We're going up the fixed lines right now to check out the last pitch, and I mean it's almost nauseatingly steep. It's like, there's the rope going up. There's Maddie hanging tough in the poor ledge. There's the ground. There's my feet. Oh yeah.
Extended selfie there for your viewing pleasure.
Really good about the extended selfie, Cedar.
Thank you. It's an art form,